Hey, Dustin. So, as it turns out, this is one of those Google things that there's no direct solution for because it's not a problem with our apps for education domain or anything like that. It's the way Google works. There's some legal explanation for why they don't want ownership of files transferred from one domain to another. I don't even pretend to understand all of that stuff. But what I did find was the easiest, least painful workaround for it. You could do this at school. If you do, though, you're probably going to have somebody like myself or I don't know if I know Heather Garland is back, but I don't know how well she's getting around. But you would have somebody that has administrative rights on the computers help you out with this, because the first step is to come here in your account, and I'm in this window. I'm logged into my personal Google account. You can see there, and go to settings and download Drive. And what that'll do is it'll download and then prompt you to do the installation of the desktop Drive application. It's pretty small. So you could do this on a home computer and it would work the same way. Once you have that installed, if you see here, I've got a Google Drive folder. I already installed it and it's synced. So this one is actually synced to my school Google account. So this is all of the folders from my Google account. You can tell they're all synced because it's got check marks in them. Let me come back over here for a second, just because I wanted to show you that I did this myself to make sure it would work. So this is my personal Google account. Again, I took this folder right here called website and I shared it with my school account. See that here. And so my personal account is still the owner, and I'm set as can edit on my school account. And now what I can do is in this desktop app, once you've got that set and once it's synced, you can see there's that folder, okay, website. And just so I could keep track of it, I'm going to right click over here and create a new folder called new copy. Okay, now here's that folder again. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to click on copy, and I'm going to come up here to the new copy folder that we created, right click and paste. And so what it's doing is it's creating a copy of the entire folder and all the documents. And the reason why it's easiest to do it this way is you can create copies of individual files in the web application of Drive, but you can't do an entire folder and all its contents. And that's what's happening here, is it's taking everything that's inside that folder and making a copy of it. Now, the other reason why it's probably better to do it this way is you probably have made a copy in the web application before, and it's always named copy of. So if you had a folder that had 1,000 items in it that you wanted to do this for, it'd be really annoying to have 1,000 files that are now named copy of, and then you got to go in and change those if you need to. So instead, what it's done, you can see it's done syncing, is it's just taken those files and brought them over and copied them. So if I drag this window over, okay, so here is my school Google Drive account, and you can see there's that new copy, and here's the folder. But what you'll notice is that there's no sharing icon on the folder. That's because everything in here, these are all now mine. So if I right click on it, mine in this account I should say, and if I go to share, you can see that this account is the owner. So it's not perfect because the document isn't truly shared anymore. I've just made a copy of everything and made it mine in this school account, and I'm the owner. But it's unfortunately the only way that I found to do what you and I talked about, which was move some of those things like curriculum maps and stuff over into your school account and have that school account be the owner. So I hope that helps. Feel free to get back in touch with me, though, if you have any questions about that. Hey, Dustin. So this is one of those good news, bad news situations. The bad news first is that we can't actually do what you and I both wanted to do, which was just be able to share the files across and then transfer ownership. It turns out that's a Google thing, and it doesn't matter which direction you're trying to go, but if you're sharing from or to a Gmail account or a Google account, to something that's branded with a domain like at maloneschools.org, that it won't let you do that. The good news is there's a fairly painless way to get around that. So I thought I'd show you that, and hopefully this will work for you. First of all, first step is to take all of the, and here I'm logged in on my personal account here, you can see. First step is to take all of the files that you want to transfer ownership of and put them into one folder. You can keep all your subfolders, so you could have a bunch of different subfolders with files and all that stuff, but make sure they're all, dump everything into one folder that you want to transfer. I already did that here just with this folder called website. You can see that I shared it with my school account, so my personal account is still owner and my school account can edit privileges. All right, so I already did that and hit done. Now this next step, you could do this at home on your own with no problem. If you're doing this at school, you would need myself or Heather Garland or somebody who has administrative rights on school computers to do this. It's stupid, but that's the way it works. Click on the settings button and then download Drive. So what this will do is it will download the desktop application and install the desktop application of Drive. And when in the process of doing that, one of the first things it's going to do is ask you to log into an account. So I logged into my school account. So if I minimize this for a second, you can see it put a desktop icon in my folder, or a desktop icon called Google Drive here. And if I open it up, this is all the contents of my school account. And you'll see I already dragged it, by the way. I'll show you that. So here's my school account. What I did was I went into Shared with Me and I found that folder and I dragged it over to Drive so that it shows up in my Drive, because otherwise if I skip that step and just left it in Shared with Me, it's not going to show up where I need it to show up. So I did that first. And then what that means is when I open up Google Drive on my desktop, that shared folder is right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to right click here, and just to keep things neat and simple, I'm going to create a new folder called New Copy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the website folder, the shared folder, and I'm going to do copy. And I'm going to come into that New Copy folder, right click and paste. And so now what it's doing is it's taking the folder, all of its subfolders, all its files, all that stuff, and it's making a copy of it in that new folder for me. Couple of nice things about this one. Well, first of all, as I said before, it's really not doing what we had wanted to do, because it's not just transferring ownership. These new copies aren't shared with that other Google account anymore. These are clean copies, only going to be shared in this account or only in this account, but this account will be owner. The other thing that's nice though is I'm sure you've done a similar thing, probably one by one, in the online application before, where you right click on a file and make a copy of it. When you do that, you know that it names it copy of. If you had 2,000 files that you wanted to do this with, it would be a real pain to have a folder full of 2,000 files all called copy of, that you then might want to go in and rename so they're not called copy of. This isn't going to do this. If I click in here, you can see none of these are named copy of. Okay, it keeps the original naming. Now it just went to the green check, so I know this is synced. So if I go back over to my school account, you can see that now in here there's a folder called New Copy. Notice that the folder is not shared. Here's the website folder, also not shared. And here are all those files, and if I click on any one of them and bring up the sharing menu, you can see that they're not shared with anybody. This account is the owner. So again, it's not a perfect solution, and it does require a couple of extra steps, but if you're just looking to get those files out of your personal account, move them into your school account, and you don't need them to work together, you don't need to work in one account and then switch over to the other, I think this will probably work for you. If you have any questions, though, or this isn't going to work and you want me to keep looking and see if I can find something else, just let me know.